your divine. Okay. Oh, good to know. Okay, we are recording. Mother, Father, God, we give thanks for this evening, for this incredible group of people, this opportunity to connect in our oneness, in our divine oneness, our unity of spirit, of mind, of beliefs. We give thanks for the incredible ministers who have brought this series together, who will be sharing their wisdom. We give thanks for each participant who has chosen to make the next step in their soul's journey happen in this next hour, for stepping forward into their soul's growth and striving to have a greater awareness of your presence in their lives. So knowing and affirming that we all work together in divine order, in divine substance, in the presence of divine light and love always. We say, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
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 Well, I want to do just a little bit of housekeeping. And first is just to let everybody know, if you're not really sure what's going to happen over the next 5 weeks, that tonight we're going to be doing an introduction to the Four Agreements. It's basically what is talked about in the first portion of the book before we get into the actual Four Agreements. Then next Wednesday on October 6th, we'll be doing a deeper dive into the first agreement, be impeccable with your word. And Reverend Maggie Alderman from CCU Orlando will be teaching that class. On the next Wednesday, October 13th, is Don't Take Anything Personally. And that will be Reverend Kathy Beasley from Central Florida Center for Spiritual Living. On the 20th, that Wednesday, is Don't Make Assumptions, taught by Reverend Roxanne Graves from Unity on the Space Coast. And then October 27th, we'll be doing Always Do Your Best. And that will be taught by or led by Reverend Teresa Curry from Unity of Daytona Beach. So that's kind of our agenda for what's going to happen in this class. We hope you can make most or all or a good portion of those so you can get a deeper dive and understanding into each one of these. And your home churches have agreed on the Sundays to present those topics also. So this coming Sunday, most of your home churches will be doing Be Impeccable with Your Word, so we can follow up with a deeper class discussion on Wednesday. A couple other little things that we want to go over when we're in a group setting like this. We do a little housekeeping rules. Rule number one is we go with the Vegas rule, that as people share in a class, if we go into small groups and share, that what's said in Vegas stays in Vegas. So what happens in the Four Agreements class stays in the Four Agreements class. We just want to keep and honor everyone else. If you're not speaking, please try to remember to mute your microphone, because you never know who's going to walk in the room behind you. If the neighbor's going to start their lawnmower or the dog starts barking. So just be aware of whether or not your microphone's on or not. If you have something to say, you can hit the raise your hand button, which is down in the reactions on the bottom right-hand portion of your screen. If you take your mouse all the way down, a toolbar will show up. There's a little smiley face that says reactions. And if you hover on that, you'll get the option to raise your hand if you want to ask a question. Then I'll try to watch for those and get you into the conversation also. I want to welcome all of the ministries that are agreed to be here tonight. Just so you know, we are having participants here from Unity on the Space Coast, Unity of Daytona Beach, Central Florida Center for Spiritual Living, Unity of Melbourne, Unity of Merritt Island, Unity Spiritual Center of Vero Beach, Unity of Omaha, Unity of Central Minnesota, and CCU Orlando. And Reverend Jim is here from Unity of Central Minnesota. And I haven't seen, did Reverend Brenda pop in yet?
I haven't seen her.
I haven't seen her, but Reverend Brenda Peters maybe jumping in here also from Unity of Omaha. So that being said, the last item on here is we want to let everyone know and just remind you that this is a tithing class, but because we've got 9 ministries here, that with every class, there are costs associated with it. There's the cost of the program. There's the time and effort that the teachers put into it. So if we want you to tithe, but if you're going to tithe in the spirit of the Fillmores, that we don't charge for our classes, that we simply ask for a love offering, that you do it to your home church. So we'll have a time for tithing at the end of the class each week, but we want to remind you that to do that, go to your home church's website or your home church's app, or however you normally tithe to your home church for your classes, to do it that way, because we're not doing it as a group. We're doing our tithe to our home churches. Okay. I invite you to keep your cameras on as often as possible. We would love to see your faces. It's just like if we're in a classroom, we can see each other's expressions. We can see each other smile and laugh. And it's not like you're sitting in a classroom with a book in front of your face, your camera off. So I want to introduce our teachers tonight. I'm going to facilitate some of the class, but they'll be doing a lot of the talking. And that is our presenters that will be for our following 4 weeks. We'll have Reverend Maggie Alderman. Maggie, raise your hand so people see you over there on your screen. We've got Reverend Kathy Beasley. She's the one waving, another one waving. Then we've got Reverend Roxanne Graves. She's going to be in a different place on everyone's screen, so I can't tell you where they are. And then Reverend Teresa Curry. Where's Teresa? There she is on my screen. Hi, Reverend Teresa. So they'll be leading a lot of the input of the information tonight. But we also want you to feel free to talk, to ask questions, to give insights, to let us know how this book is working in your lives also. The book that we're using tonight, as you all should know, is The Four Agreements. A lot of us, we've already talked, we've already read it. And we're rereading it, and it's made a difference in our lives. And if you haven't read it and this is your first time, buckle up, because this can be a really good one for you. It's a great read. It was written in 1997. Don Miguel Ruiz wrote it, put it out, and it was on the New York Best Times list for over a decade. So that's the weight that this book has, that for over 10 years. I mean, it's been in print ever since, but it's been on the bestsellers list for over 10 years. So what we're going to do tonight is have a series of questions, and I'm going to throw the same question out to each of our 4 instructors, and they're going to answer the questions. And to be fair and honest, they have had a heads up of what the questions are going to be, because a couple of them wrote the questions and then they passed them over. So they are a little prepared. But then if anyone else has anything to add, we'll open it up to you too. But we are going to try to keep this to within an hour and a half so we can finish at 8:30. So in the introduction to the book, one of the things that Don Miguel Ruiz brings forward is the idea of us all living in a dream, that this dream is, and I'll read the quote that is in the beginning of the book. This dream that we all live in, the dream of the planet, is the collective dream of billions of smaller personal dreams, which together create a dream of the family, a dream of a community, a dream of a city, a dream of a country, and finally, a dream of a whole humanity. And we are living within some area, or all the areas, the different layers of this dream of humanity. So we're going to ask each of our presenters tonight, first, as you read or reread this book, did you get any new insight or aha moments from this introduction? And based on the dream that he describes, the world that we live in, which of these dreams have you been most engaged in recently? So I'll give each of you 3 or 4 minutes to answer that question. This dream that we all live in, what level of it are you living in recently? And what ahas have you gotten from the introduction to this book? Let's see, who's Reverend Teresa? You're in my top left. Do you want to kick this off?
Yes, thank you so much. It's my great joy and pleasure and honor to be here and to have the opportunity to share with all of you. And again, many thanks to you, Don, for facilitating this and bringing this forth. So here we are. So the first part of this about, did I get any new insight or aha moments? And as I mentioned earlier, that, most of us, we read this book quite some time ago. But it was really interesting to me how many things look differently, because obviously I'm in a different place in my life than when I read it the very first time. But I wanted to share a couple of things about the aha moments. And I want to talk about the smoky mirror that he refers to. And what I loved about that was it just resonated with me so in the sense that isn't that really what goes on? And what I coupled that with was John Lennon's quote there in the beginning that said, "Living is easy with closed eyes." That's the first line of his quote there. And that I coupled that with that smoky mirror, meaning as I live in this human condition, my mirror can often get smoky because I'm influenced by what my physical eyes see, and all the judgments that start and our different belief systems and all that type of thing. But when I go back to John Lennon's quote, that first line that says, "Living is easy with closed eyes," I thought, I actually physically closed my eyes and noticed just how that felt. Because from that place and that space, it's as though I close my outer eyes, but I open my inner eyes. And as I open my inner eyes, living is so much easier for me because that's where I get to bask in the truth of me and the truth of you. And so as I do that, that smoky mirror can become a little less foggy, if you will. And I have the opportunity to see you for who you are as I can see me for who I am, the divine beings that we are. So that's where I went with my insights there. And as far as the dream of the planet and thus and so, and it says, which of these dreams have you been most engaged in recently? And I guess I had to go to, I could say humanity or the worldly condition, if you will. It could encompass the community, city, country as a whole. And it made me think of the divisiveness that wants to appear in the outer condition. And, from all different levels, and you can take it down to, you can talk about politics, you can talk about the pandemic, you can talk about vaccinations, you can talk about wearing a mask, you don't wear a mask. There's so many things, not to mention what's happening globally as well, when you think about our borders and things like that, such that are going on. And, if I stay there too long with the physical eye, it starts to hurt my heart a bit. And my desire is through all these works and this opportunity that we're doing here tonight together, may I see the truth. May I see the truth. And can I take that light and shine that light out there in our world? And I think that that's really what we're all called to do. I'm grateful for this opportunity again, as I said, and I can't wait to see what we all manifest here together as we go through this process of the 4 agreements. Thank you for letting me share.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, that idea of the smoky mirror, where we reflect back our true essence, we reflect back the essence of God, but we can't see it clearly, like smoke on a mirror, that you can't see the truest reflection of who you are. That's, thank you for reminding me of that great point that's in that book. Yeah, definitely. Let me find another minister on my screen. There's so many of you. There's Reverend Roxanne Graves. Reverend Roxanne, would you like to go next? What was your big ahas? What points did you want to bring out from the introduction, and where are you in the dream?
Thank you, Don. Yes, and thank you for organizing all of this. It's wonderful. This time around, the big aha for me was the introduction to the book, honestly. I know that so many times going through this book, you end up doing it over 4 weeks, and it's one of the agreements every week. And I remember the very, very first time it was at CCU that I read the book. Gosh, I don't even remember, how many years ago, but we never even got into that part. But I read it and I thought, wow, that's just so cuckoo and so way out there. It's like, what is all this, cultic mysticism and all that fun stuff? And as I have read it through the years, I get a little more understanding about where he's coming from, and I recognize how important all of that is to me. I love the piece where he talks about, this was my big aha this time, where he talks about the man 3,000 years ago that has the dream. And the man has the dream and he sees the stars, and at some point he recognizes that the stars are not providing light, that the light is actually providing the stars. The light's actually creating the stars. And then he realizes that he's made from the same light as the stars. And it's a beautiful little story that I just blew right over a couple times. I read it without even really looking at it. And I realized it really made me connect to, one truth. Because as I went through it, I could see each of the unity principles involved in it, the oneness that we all are. It was just, I just loved that part about that dream that the man was having 3,000 years ago when he came out of his cave. As far as what dream I'm in, like Teresa, I have to say, at least daily, I have an opportunity to be in our humanity, at least once a day. And there's so much going on that I'm not, I'm watching, I'm paying attention and watching more than I normally would have. But the last couple of years, I've been paying really close attention to things. So I am in it. I am in that dream and participating in all of the agreements that are in that dream. Then I am also participating heavily in my church community's dream. We've got some really wonderful things happening. We have a great intern. We have a new sign coming. Lots of wonderful things are going on in the church, and I just love participating in that. And so that's an everyday thing as well. And then, of course, the family. I recently got married, and so my whole family dynamic has changed. It's actually quite marvelous. And then my personal, of course, from the minute my feet hit the ground, I'm all about me and living in my own personal dream. So it's really hard to say which one at this moment in my life is more prevalent than the other, because there's just so much going on that I'm trying to stay connected in all areas. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and congratulations on your marriage. So happy for you.
Thank you.
Definitely. Yes, and that reminds me, when I was reading that introduction, also the story about the man 3,000 years ago, it just mirrored for me the story that I've heard Eckhart Tolle talk about his own personal enlightenment before he wrote The Power of Now and A New Earth, because he had this big awakening, this big awareness, and then suddenly he was also aware that he was losing the awareness, the perfect vision, that it was slipping out of his grasp, just like the man he described in his book. And it made me wonder how many people have these moments of pure enlightenment like this. It happens in all these different cultures and all these different periods of time where they find enlightenment and they really see the oneness and the connection and the truth of what the world is and what the meaning of God is. And then a slow awareness of, I can't stay in this space. I'm not big enough, knowing it's going to go away. And they have to find some way to anchor something in that to remind them of what they knew while they were there, and how often does that happen for all the great masters, maybe,
Can I say one more thing I forgot?
Sure.
I got it in my notes, but the smoky mirror. What it reminded me of was Eric Butterworth in his book, Discover the Power Within. He talks about Jesus being the window for us to look into our own souls. And that over time, people forgot that Jesus was a vessel or there as a way to show us how to look into ourselves. And that window got more opaque and dirtier as time goes on. And then suddenly everybody's just looking at Jesus and they're not actually using those tools to look at themselves. And I likened it to that. I thought it was, what I really loved about the whole introduction this time, I really could connect it to my beliefs. So I really appreciated that. Thanks.
Yeah, and the connection to Jesus and the smoky mirror too is also I think as he got to his resurrection, he cleared the smoke away from his own personal mirror, where he had a complete
Mm.
unhindered vision of the divine and his connectedness with the divine and his own divinity, his own Christ presence, and he was able to clearly see without the smoke in his mirror at all too. Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. All right. Reverend Maggie, you're next on my screen. Would you like to jump in?
Sure. I will echo the appreciation. I know that this took a lot of moving parts, and I am in awe, sir, of your skills and your abilities. Thank you so much for all that you did to pull this together. I'm going to start with where my dream is, and my dream right now is very much in my personal. And the reason for that is because I think we are in an evolutionary cycle of likened to another great awakening. So we're not just at a national level, but on a global scale, we've all been presented with the reality that we all exist because we are experiencing the same experience of a traumatic pandemic. And that's the first time in quite a long time that I think a globe of people have all been forced to recognize one another. And I don't think that it's in any short order nor coincidence that we have seen such tremendous upheaval in the way we consider ourselves and our own behavior as an impact to how we move about and experience life as a collective. That's definitely been featured in the divisiveness that Reverend Teresa talked about. But it's bigger than that. We had a huge racial awakening that I haven't seen in my world, in my experience, in the smack in the middle of, excuse me, in the beginning of the pandemic, with the social unrest that came out of the product of the George Floyd case. And there was enormous movement. There was all 50 states awake and alert and moving toward something new. So when I see stuff like that happening and the divisiveness on the political scale, and for context, for those that don't know me, I have a house full of zillennials. My oldest is 23, my middle is 21, and my baby is about to be 17. So I get a unique perspective of their ideas and the way they're thinking and the way they're reacting to the world. And it is challenging us again to look at where we agree and where we were given. We didn't even have a choice that we knew of, but we were given and accepted what we agreed to on every level. And those levels are all being challenged right now. So to go with what Roxanne was saying is for me, it's overwhelming. I can't even sip from the fire hose of life right now, most days, because as soon as I do, I'm just blown back. And when I'm overwhelmed at a global level, I participate at that and I see it, I have to break it back down to where can I affect change? And that starts right here. That starts where I'm willing to do the work again, to go check my inventory and recognize if I'm holding on to old behaviors or old beliefs that were just given to me. And I didn't even know that they snuck in my pockets. They walk around with me all the time and influence the way I behave and the way I allow behavior to come through and at me. So then that turns to my epiphany or my aha. And it was about lying, about how we are so well conditioned to actually lie as a way to be acceptable in our beingness on this planetary dream and in relationship to one another in every dynamic and dichotomy that we come against and through every day. And I'm sure that's because I have be impeccable with your word, but you know, I watch and I witness the struggle with all of us as we go back and reevaluate our agreements and the emotional that we have to then deal with when we realize that stuff snuck into our pockets. You know what I mean? Because there's shame that wants to jump and take credit for it. And there's guilt that wants to jump in and take credit for it. And the reality is that we're just evolving. And right now, I think we're evolving at such a rapid pace. And we're at critical mass for humanity. So the evaluation is essential. And I'm back to impacting change. What did I agree to? And how do I be positive in this evolutionary cycle? Did I get it in 4 minutes?
I haven't been watching. I knew I
Okay.
had ministers talking and I was going to give them the mics.
You
and
know,
before minutes just went
20
blown out
minutes
of
at
the
a
water.
time.
I was just going to let that go. But yeah, great. Yeah. Yeah. And when you were speaking, I was thinking, to honor these agreements and I was thinking in my head, I try not to ever lie, but then do I lie when I, wear a shirt that covers this up and pull my belt in tighter to give me a better waist? And, what I present to the world isn't what looks like gets out of my bed in the morning. So, is that just am I lying about what I really look like and who I am? Or am I just fudging a little? Or am I just putting my
Masking,
best foot forward? There's
right?
shades of all of this in every aspect of our lives. Buying into the agreements that you have to look good when you leave the house. That was my agreement that I had brought in. Yeah. They sneak
Yep.
in. You've got
And
them
your
every.
belt better match your shoes.
That's right. Well, or I'm not leaving the house.
Just
All right.
saying.
Reverend Kathy, where are you on my screen? There you are.
I'm hiding. So first, I echo the gratitude of being able to participate with you all. It's so good to see you. And so when I jump into this dream this time, much like Roxanne and I kind of chuckled about this the other day, how we read the book the first time without even acknowledging that those first 10, 15 pages were even there. And so when I opened it up, I was kind of, and this is the same book I've had since the first time I read it at CCU. So I've got all kind of madness scribbled all over the place. But I was shocked and amazed that those pages were there, because I was like, how did I miss that? And so when I step into the dream, I had to deal with it from the perception of the lie. Because I'm the youngest of 4, and I was told everything, how to think, what to do, how to behave, what everything meant. And I accepted all of that without the experience and the understanding of it. It's just that I did what I was told. And until I got to a place in my life where what I heard my soul say was incongruent with what I heard my mama say. And then I'm caught up in between, as if somebody's gonna go tell. I mean, okay. And I had to take the perspective of a hokey pokey moment. I had to put my whole self into this. Whereas before I just read it. I got 4 agreements, as if that's all I have. I have a whole lot of agreements. And Don, I have the same one that you have, because today I'm sporting what I call my quarantine 15 pounds. And it's like, how do I disguise that, when I leave the house? And so this idea of the lie of am I being fully who I am called to be? Or am I being what makes people happy? Because too many people in a room with me, I can make you uncomfortable real fast. And being an African-American, same gender loving woman who is outspoken about the presence and activity of God in the world. So I can just go all day. And I had to say to myself, what if everything I was taught, don't tell my mom, but what if everything that I was taught was a lie? And what if everything that my soul is whispering to me is not just the truth, but my truth? And it's a true truth, if that makes sense to anybody. So I realized that there were aspects of my life where I had been wearing a mask before masks were required and all popular and everything. And wearing that mask, what was I holding back? What was I keeping from the one who calls me over and over again? And so I had to enter into the dream and deal with the lie and decide, where am I on that trajectory? And there's a quote from Emerson that I love that says that we are our own spiritual authority and everything else is guidance. So everything that we know to do is in us, not in everybody telling us, or on the pages of a book that we tuck under our arms every Sunday morning to tell us how to be more spiritual in the world. No, it doesn't work that way. That whatever it is that we need is already in each and every one of us. And so I had to get to the place where my dream was playing in a way that it's my voice. My soul is the showrunner. It's my voice telling me what to do in every moment, helping me understand how to be what I need to be in moments with other people. But it's also that place I had to ask myself, why have I been wearing a mask before we were required to wear a mask? And it was really because I was afraid to be my whole self, because at some point somebody made me feel bad about that. And I just had to say, poo poo for you. That's more about you, not about me. Be who I was created to be and accept all of those things about myself, because I can't expect you all to accept those aspects of myself if I haven't accepted them for myself. And so it really made me consider the what the Buddhists would call that false self. It really made me consider where is that false self in the story of my life, and to understand that the words of Jesus where he said the Father and I are one. So that I'm a whole person, one with the divine. And so when I look at that and I say, where am I? I'm smack dab in the middle of it. And what was my aha is that rather than trying to make myself fit into the dream of the world, I had to allow the dream of the world to fit into who I know myself to be. And that's all I got right there, folks.
Wonderful. Yeah, exactly. I resonate with exactly what you said, because that what if everything's a lie also brings about the self-awareness of I have to figure out what all I've been told, what all I've been told to believe, what all I've accepted as a truth, that I may not even realize where it came from or why, and to know that what if it's a lie, but which ones are true? Because there was some that we were given without our choice as a child. And one of them was religion, your church, spirituality is important in your life. Well, that one so far has turned out to be true for me. That one I'm holding on to. That one worked, some of the other ones, not so much. I was accepted the information that I was given that the only way to heaven is to be a good Catholic. Well, I had to let that one go. So some are good and some are bad, but first you have to realize they're there. What agreements did I make? What beliefs have I bought into without my choice as a child, or through my adolescence, or even unknowingly as an adult, to realize that they're there. And now I get to choose to figure out, are they really true or not? And do I still agree to them? That's the thing about the agreements. We can break them.
Yeah. Don, can I pin something to that?
Sure.
I think when I look at, I call it sort the laundry and figure out what's what. I had to separate the truth of my grandmother, my mom, my aunts, all the influential women and luminaries in my life from my truth. Mm-hmm. And so in Mama's house, I don't know why I had to go to church, but I had to go to church every Sunday. I guess I needed Jesus. I don't know. But I had to go every Sunday. And what I have learned that it is not about going to church in my life. It's about being that space in the world. Mm-hmm. And so to go through and kind of, it's like, y'all ever had a piece of candy that you wanted so bad, but you couldn't separate the candy from the paper and you just stuck the whole thing in your mouth eventually with the fuzz that's in the bottom of your pocket? You know what I'm talking about. It's like that. I couldn't separate it. And so I spend my time now just trying to pick it apart. What part of this belongs to me? Because I think it's, how people will say that there's some, there's some truth in every lie. Mm-hmm. And so you have to do the laundry and sort it out and figure out which is what, or peel the paper off the candy.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So I want to just open it up briefly. If there's anybody, one or two people, did anyone else get a big aha from the introduction that they would want to share with the class, that they think that they just did not see or think about until they read the introduction and did one of the smack your heads. Raise your hand or just screech it out. Okay, well then I want to do one little thing real quick because I want to give everybody a 5-minute break because an hour and a half is a long time to sit in front of a computer. So we do want to give you a 5-minute break to go refill your coffee cup, or if I'm boring you, pour a glass of wine, or to run to the bathroom, whatever you need to do. So I want to pop up with and see if it's here. So I want to ask, oh no, it's not there. I did it on my other computer. Okay, I won't do the poll then. So I'm going to ask you in the chat then. We ask all of the ministers that were speaking tonight, which dream did they find themselves in recently? So is it
Don,
the
I
dream?
can launch it. I can launch the,
Oh, can you? The
yep,
poll? Okay.
it's there.
I just launched it.
Yeah, it's there now.
Oh, Shannon's on. Shannon's here. Can we just take a second and say thank you to Shannon for her workhorse and strength and creative tenacity to help support all of this. Those
Yes.
in the class, all of the graphics and everything that was created to promote the class and give you all of the tools that you needed to do that, and the technology in the background. Our darling Shannon did that, and she is on. I just want to say thank you and give everybody a chance to
Thank
give you
you.
the.
All
Thank
right.
you. Definitely my pleasure.
If
Thank you,
I-
Shannon.
For some reason, it's not showing up on my screen. So Shannon or Maggie, if it's on your screen, can you read the question and just have everyone just click on one of those answers and give us the results?
Which of these dreams have you been engaged in recently? And it is dream of family, dream of community, dream of a city, dream of a country, dream of humanity.
So each of you should be able to click on one of those and we'll kind of see where everybody's at.
It's a horse race.
I'm kind of bummed I don't get to see it or participate.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we have 80% participation. If you haven't clicked and you have the ability to do so, please make your selection.
Yeah, we might have some people on phones or other devices.
Right. Well, so shall I reveal the results?
Sure.
It is a 3-way tie. Dream of family, dream of community, and dream of humanity. Oh no, that's just a 2. Oh, I'm a liar. I just reread it. It's just dream of humanity and a 2-way tie for second place, which is dream of family and dream of community. So humanity wins.
All right, good to know where all of you people are at. You're working for the entire planet,
Yeah.
for
Do you,
all of us.
Don, this is Jay. Do you mind if I add something?
Sure.
I would say beyond humanity, oneness,
Mhm.
because that's what I was going to bring up. And humanity was the closest to that because it's not only physical bodies, it's, you know, the oneness with the planet. And that's what speaks to me.
All right, great. Thank you. I appreciate that, Jay. So I'm going to give, I want to tell you, you've got till 7:45. Take a quick 5, do what you need to do. Just a little housekeeping since people came in late. If you are so inclined, if you wouldn't mind, if you hover your mouse over your picture in the upper right-hand corner, there's 3 little dots. If you click on that, you can rename yourself. And if you would be so kind as to put what spiritual center or ministry that you're associated with after your name, so we can kind of see who's all here and who we're all representing. And then we don't have to ask people all the time, where are you from? Where are you from? And we get an idea of just how big this community is. So thank you. Do that if you get a chance. And I will see you in 5 minutes.
Hi, Jeannie. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Jeannie, look at my head's like right in the middle. See? Right.
How did you get the check? Oh, down there.
Oops, why is it over there now? I don't know how that got moved around.
went downstairs and talked to Tammy.
Come together as a family. We have come here as we are. We have come with arms wide open. We have gathered here in love. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Raise the roof with sounds of praise. Spirit in this place. We sing in celebration. We sing with words of prayer. We sing with words of prayer. We affirm our life as sacred. We declare that peace is here. Yeah, Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Raise the roof with sounds of praise. Spirit in this place.
All right. Well, I noticed that there was a whole lot of people who didn't quite come back, so I was giving them a couple more minutes to come back in. There we go. I see faces again. All right. The second part of tonight, we want to talk about domestication. It's one of the big topics that he talks about in the beginning of the book. Domestication, he talks about as that this dream of the planet that we live in includes all of society's rules, beliefs, laws, religions, cultures, governments, schools, social events, holidays. Everything makes up this dream that we live in. However, when we're children, that the people who went before us hook our attention. They hook the attention of the children, that attention, what the child's focusing on, what anyone wants to perceive and see more of, where we focus our attention. They hook into that and introduce all of these rules that have been set up to create this dream of this planet. And that as children, we don't get to choose our beliefs, but we agree to the information that this larger dream has given to us through our parents, through our teachers, through our schools, our religions, all other humans. And so we pick up this belief system involuntarily. And we're shown and taught how to be and conform to what already is established, this dream that has been set up by the generations that came before us. And he refers to that as domestication, that we're domesticated, where we are given this belief system by buying into the agreeing to the information that's given to us without question as children and as we're growing up. So we're going to talk about that a little bit right now, about this concept of domestication. And we want to be able to recognize it in our own lives and express where we know it's happened, and our own personal examples for it. So my next question to all of our ministerial presenters is to share a personal example of your own domestication. where do you see that happening or has happened in your life? And whether, is it something you had to break free from because it's a belief that you bought into involuntary that was correct or incorrect? So let's start with one of our last presenters. Let's go back with Reverend Maggie.
Oh, early on for me, I can't remember an educational experience. So I'm going to go the educational route. I cannot remember an educational experience where there was not mention of my underperformance in the classroom or my different type of performance in the classroom. So those in my community, I've shared this on Sundays openly, and we just didn't have the term for what ADHD was in 1980, 81, 82. I was just disruptive and I couldn't sit still and my handwriting was a mess. And it was like the teachers that I was instructed by, molded by, didn't have the tools either. So that domestication, that belief was handed to me that I was different, therefore I was unworthy, therefore I was separate than, and the shame and the embarrassment and the belittlement, and literally taught to be small, and taught to be limited, and taught that I was my different was to be shamed, to be separated. So that followed me, it followed me all the way through to ministerial school. And it's a funny thing that this is where I had, it came up, I had to come up against it. Like, I can't do this. All of a sudden, the idea of being in a rigorous academic program wasn't my 37-year-old self. It was my 6-year-old self that was told, you can't read well, you don't retain this. There's no way anybody wants to hear what you're going to present because it's scattered and presented in the way that your mind functions. Never mind that I had adapted. We've learned, we've grown, we've changed. I've learned and grown and changed and become quite resilient and tenacious and resourceful, and recognize that I had to embrace and shed that, though it still rides in the sidecar of my life to keep me in check, just in case my ego wants to get a little ahead of me. That reminds me that any minute that doubt and that creep can come back up and be what I present face forward in the world. So that was a huge domestication, and I did not even recognize how debilitating it was and how heavy a non-truth it was for me for 35 years, 38 years, and it's still present. And just recognize, I keep a side eye on that sucker like this all the time, like, we've already done that. No, thank you. That awareness, because that domestication wants to just break through and try and control the dream, limiting my capability.
All right, thank you. Yeah, something that you had no alternative but to accept that as your truth.
Right.
As a child. Yes, thank you. All right. Reverend Teresa, we haven't heard from you in a while. Do you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. I so appreciate all this heartfelt, authentic sharing. What a gift. What a gift. We don't get this all the time, do we? I mean, we do a lot in Unity, but in the world. So truly a gift. I'm going to have to share that the biggest one is that good girl and do it right syndrome. Certainly, as I know today, incorrect belief systems, and error thoughts and all those types of things that I can see it for now. But as I looked at some of these things and these places in my life where it's still yet, I hear what you're saying, Reverend Maggie, still yet it can show up. The difference being, that I can see it today for what it is. But certainly growing up, you know, it actually makes no sense whatsoever, does it? I don't recall somebody actually saying, you know, you must be a good girl, but somewhere growing up and through my traditional religious upbringing, I took that on. It was be the good girl, do it right, and be sure that you measure up. Now, keeping in mind, nobody had any idea what any of that meant. What is a good girl? You know, measure up to what? You know, it was, when I look at it today, you know, it was a setup from the very beginning, wasn't it? It was all this unattainable high bar, if you will, that no matter how much effort I put into whatever it was just unattainable. You know, it's like unrealistic goal setting, if you will, and not even really realizing it, but somehow just falling into really I want to call it a prison of it, or the bondage of it, really, because it certainly is the monkey on your back. You know, and get the good grades and all those types of things, you know, so it was this constant striving or trying to achieve, never knowing honestly that, you know, the truth of who we are, you know. And today what I can say about all that is that, like I said, I can see it for what it is today. You know, so much of my life, I just wanted it to be totally gone. I had my first spiritual awakening in the rooms of Al-Anon some 26, 27 years ago at this point, you know, and that's where some of that started to crack open for me. But honestly, you know, it's like Maggie was saying there, you know, you kind of keep your eye on it, keep that in check, so to speak. But today the difference is that I can see the thought. I can actually observe the thought and go, oh, hey, hold on. That's just that place in me that thinks, that error thinking that thinks that there's some ideal that I'm trying to achieve. That's that place where I don't know or can't awaken to the fact that the perfection exists already. We are perfect and the perfection is now and here. So, you know, and obviously what happens, all fear-based thinking gets involved in all that. And let me move out of that fear. Let that fear be today of face everything and rise, a friend shared with me this week as we were texting back and forth. So truly face everything and rise and acknowledge the perfection that we are, and that we actually came here to be. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And you're right, it's nice to have a nice space for the vulnerability. Roxanne, where are you? There you are.
Thanks, Don. I just want to say first off that for me, the idea of domestication, I think I have to remember that the most important part about domestication is recognizing that I have been domesticated and question everything I think I know, right? But I was domesticated into a very abusive culture, alcoholism, addiction, physical and emotional abuse, to the point that by the time I started my mid-teens, I had already taken on the role of the abused spouse. I didn't know any other kind of relationship. And as much as I would look at my father and say, I never want to drink, or look at my brother and say, I'm never going to do drugs, or look at my mother and say, I can't believe she lets him beat her every Friday night. Having been raised in that, I didn't know anything else. And so by the time I was 15, I was a drunk, an addict, and an abused partner. So, so that's I think, the more dramatic part of my domestication. But there's also being domesticated in Catholicism by people who don't know anything about Catholicism. So that was fascinating to realize that this horrible God creature that everybody in my family were scared to death of just really doesn't exist at all. And we never talked about going to college or even caring, you know, what kind of grades you got. My dad didn't graduate from the 8th grade, and no one in my family went to college until I went to college. And it has taken years and years and years, every day, still every day, for me to look at everything I think I know is true and take a pause and ask myself why I think that it's true. And is it really, really true for me? I know I told the story on Sunday about my daughter jumping on the bed and me immediately wanting to tell her she can't jump on the bed because we weren't allowed to jump on the bed, right? But I jumped on, we weren't allowed because the slats of the bed would break. That was one of the reasons, but her slats weren't going to break, they were metal. And we had terrazzo floors. If we fell on it, we cracked our head, but she had nice thick carpet. So thinking about it and wondering why in the world am I telling her she can't jump on her bed? And I said, go ahead, jump on your bed. But absolutely everything I have ever believed to be true has had to be questioned in my life. Before anything comes out of my mouth, I have to remember that I've been domesticated, especially if I am moved by some kind of strong emotion of fear, strong emotion of angst or anger. I know that I have to pause and think about what is that? What is it I'm afraid of? And do I really need to be afraid of that? Where did that come from? What is the belief? The whole idea of domestication just changed my world, quite frankly. When I was in my mid-20s, it just completely changed my whole world. When I realized that, you know what, I really don't know anything about anything. And my entire life can look completely different. So, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, awareness, 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 awareness. That's always the first step. Yeah. What are those agreements we bought into? What is the underlying, what is the rule that I'm trying to enforce, and does it work? Great, great, thank you. And Reverend Kathy, where are you on my screen? So many people, I love this. There she is.
Hello again. Thank you, Roxanne, for the reminder of the level of awareness that in some way we have been domesticated. And Maggie, thank you for the story of what happens before we have language and labels. My point of domestication, if I let my grandmother tell it, she will tell you I came out of the womb as a preacher. And so I had a lot to say about everything all the time, and I could say it quickly. And so my point of domestication was spiritually. I didn't know that about myself. I just love God, love church. I love all things sacred and holy. Give me a hymnal, please. Let's sing all the verses twice. And my point of domestication was, there were things that we heard. I grew up what I call Methodist-Pentecostal. So there was a thing in the 70s where women could not be ministers, pastors, preachers, spiritual leaders. And it was kind of urban myth. You would hear like mumblings back in the kitchen about it. And then one day, minding my own business, I was summoned to the pastor's office. And you know how that is. Your life turns into a giant Viewmaster and you start clicking through everything you could have done wrong. And I walked in, and I'd never been in there. And he sat on the other side of the biggest Bible I'd ever seen in my life. And he said to me, one statement. Women don't preach here. I was like, okay. You know, I got to go line up because the choir's getting ready to march in. And somewhere between his office and the choir loft, something in me snapped. Because I recognized at that point, what I know now is a point of domestication was I suffered from what I call the I could onlys. I could only teach Sunday school. I could only be the superintendent of Sunday school. I could only be a missionary. I could only, if I chose to marry a man, be a deaconess. That wasn't about to happen. But this idea of women being called to do something greater than they knew that they could do, that just was not about to happen. And so what I did is I accepted that women don't preach here. And I didn't stay what was then here much longer. Because something about my soul just did not fit. I didn't know where it fit, but I just know it didn't fit there. And so that idea that of being relegated to roles like fixing plates on Fellowship Sunday, or if you're in a meeting because you're the woman, you take the notes. To this day, I won't take a note. We won't have notes if you ain't know me to take them. And the way that the world will relegate you without you even knowing it to a role that is lesser than that you know yourself to be. And so when I think back, it wasn't until I saw an African-American woman standing in a pulpit and nobody chased her away and she wasn't dusting it. And I saw a same gender loving woman standing in the pulpit and nobody seemed to be alarmed that something in me said that I don't have to settle for the I could only. I could only do what I've been called to do. So I had to push past that point of domestication into the truth of my being.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, and if you listen to this, a common theme that I hear is that all of these agreements we've bought into, that this domestication, it's all agreements of limitation. It's all what people can't do or shouldn't do. What's bad, what's wrong, not what you can be or where you can go. They're agreements that are limiting us. So we want to give everybody a chance to step into that also. So I'm going to, and bear with me if this throws you out of your comfort zone, I'm going to break us into small groups where you'll each have a chance to describe a time or an example of domestication in your own life. And we come back if there's anybody who would like to share something from their group, but I'm going to put you in groups of about 5 people each. If you're really one of those introverts and do not want to share, you don't have to speak, but I encourage you to step into that vulnerability and to think about the time when, or an area of your life where you feel like you really have been domesticated, limited, bought into an agreement that you didn't necessarily take of your own free will, and you recognize it now. So we'll do that. If I put you in groups of like 5 and everybody gets 2 to 3 minutes, it'll be about 15 minutes that you're in that. And then you'll just get sucked right back when it's over, when the timer's up. But you'll probably get a pop-ups thing on your screen if you've never done this before, inviting you to join a breakout group, and just click accept or yes or whatever your button is there, okay? Any questions? All right, so we're just going to come up with an example of where we recognize domestication in our lives. And there's going to be about 4 of you in each room. So I take it you all are choosing not to join.
I didn't get a pop-up.
You didn't?
Mm-mm.
Because it says it put you in one of the rooms. I saw it.
I'll gladly go and talk more. Or we can just be our own little group here.
Yeah, Reverend Roxanne didn't go either. No, you know what? I don't even see you in one. I thought I did. No, maybe because you're a host.
Maybe.
Yeah. So Judy, Kelsey, Curran, Unity of Daytona, or Karen, if you want to share, we're more than happy to listen and share with you too. But if you're just probably on your phone, you don't go into breakout rooms, I don't think. So that might be if you're on a phone or a tablet, the breakout rooms don't work. Okay. Roxanne, I put you in. There you go. Good job tonight, Reverend Maggie.
You too, Reverend Don. You're doing such a great job.
I am absolutely thrilled. We had at one point we had 61 people in the group.
That's so great.
Incredible.
So great. Mhm.
And I saw names from every single church except I don't think I saw Unity of Omaha in the when I looked at the participants, but there could have been somebody who didn't put the name up.
Right, that's true. I didn't either. I was scrolling just to look at everybody's faces.
Okay, we're gonna need a way to tie this all up if no one wants to talk when they come back.
Okay. That was it, right, on the agenda?
Yeah.
I bet somebody will share.
Yeah. Do you think I should ask Jim Everson if he wants to say something or follow up?
Yeah, I actually noticed right before the breakout room started separating that he had his hand up, so he may. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that would be good. Yeah. I want to go to Kathy Beasley's church. I just love when she talks. I'm like,
Yeah. Oh,
keep
she's a
talking.
good speaker. Yeah. Did you watch her commencement speech?
Yeah, I did. I did. She was inspiration. I was like, I'm going to do that.
Mhm.
And then it manifested that it gave me goosebumps like all over. I won't forget when she said, I'm going to sit down before they sit me down, but before I go, I'm going to leave you with a scripture. I was like, okay, give it to me. Good.
Do you have a timer showing on your screen for how long the break room's going?
6 minutes and 15 seconds
Left or into it? Left.
into it.
Okay.
It's not counting down, it's counting up.
Oh, okay. I think it'll do 12 minutes. So tell me when it says 10 and I'll send a message saying 2 more minutes.
Okay.
I saw Carmen. That's why I was like, well, you don't have to speak if you don't want to.
I know, right?
And she went like this.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it better clearly now. It is counting down. I thought it was
Okay.
going up. So it's 5 minutes and 30 seconds left.
Okay.
Cool. I wonder if she'll share. She probably won't. Do you think she will?
You never know with her. Depends on who's in the group.
That's true.
People in there from CCU, she might.
I love her.
Shannon was monitoring the chat for us too, so that was good.
That was good. Four minutes.
Now, some of the rooms got 5 people and some of them got 3. Wonder why.
I wonder if it's because of the cell phone participants or someone got dropped.
Few people showed up tonight I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Great to see they're here.
Mm-hmm.
When that number went over 60, I was like,
I know. So good. It's so good. I'm glad we did the intro too. Like,
Yeah.
kind of icebreakers. Everybody feeling each other out. So there'll be more open willingness, I hope, for open discussion in the coming weeks.
and everybody gets the chance to see the other ministers too. You're from the other
Mhm.
church. It's like, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna, who are these other people? And am I
Right.
gonna, do I want to sit through their class?
It's true. They get kind of a sample of
Yeah.
our styles and approach. It's true. Okay, we're coming down to 2 minutes.
Hi, Cami. I saw you just joined. All the participants are in breakout groups and they'll be back in about 2 minutes. So it's not just the 4 of us, I promise. Hi, Debbie.
Did I jump out of my meeting too soon?
That's fine. There's like a minute left.
I just saw the thing that flashed. Maybe that's just because I saw the button leave. I thought,
Oh, no,
Oh,
it just
well.
said, yeah,
Oh,
2 minutes.
oh, well, at least I said goodbye.
welcome back.
Thank you.
And I'm done here. Click.
And I'm saying goodbye.
I feel complete.
Take that for domestication. I don't have to stay where I don't want to be.
It was good. It was a good little group though.
Oh, good, good. I was
Reverend
excited.
Teresa and Amy and a woman named Faye from Michigan.
Oh,
Cool.
good.
Yeah. It's nice that we're having people from all of the groups in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was looking through the, everyone that's here, and there's people from all over. I mean, a number of people from each one of the churches.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was looking around because our the woman that sold us our golden doodles had just posted on her Facebook page about the dogs. Oh, I just discovered this great thing, and she posted the 4 agreements.
Ah, that's funny.
So I said, "Hey, come along," you know.
Exactly.
So
Mhm.
I don't know if she joined up, but her name is Farah Ace. Interesting name.
Here they come.
All right.
I tell you, that thing is so rude, just suck you right out of there.
What's up, Debbie Lippins?
And we're done.
I was like, what
happened? What happened? I was
Scotty
having a
beat-
talk with Jesus just before I knew it.
Scotty beamed you up whether you were ready or not.
Yeah, Don, were you
Right in
the
the
one
middle
with
of a
the cane?
sentence.
I
I
know.
thought we got a
Taking
little
us
thing
off
that
the
said
stage.
that it would be
The
done in
mess.
60 seconds. I didn't realize.
I
we were
thought so.
gonna
Yeah, I
squeeze
missed
out
the
of it.
countdown.
Missed the countdown
I hope
too.
it wasn't just the groups with the ministers in them that were long-winded.
Probably was.
Well, Probably.
Don, I think Reverend Jim has his hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like a chance to share if you don't mind.
Yeah, I was going to extend that opportunity. If anybody wanted to represent their group or had something that they wanted to get in before we close, I'll open that up. And actually, I just talked about that with Maggie while we were waiting for y'all to come back, that I wanted to let everyone know that Reverend Jim from Unity of Central Minnesota is here with his congregation and wanted to recognize you for participating also. So yeah, we would love to have your words of wisdom.
Yeah, well, great. And thank you, Don and Maggie, for organizing this. This is a wonderful event, so I appreciate it. This really calls to me. This really is a very interesting topic to me because it's popped up in so many of the readings I've done over the past couple of months. You know, we've already mentioned Eckhart Tolle and, you know, Don Ruiz. The Fillmores have talked about this idea of this world that we live in a dream. A Course in Miracles also talks about the idea that we live in a dream. What interests me is where along the spectrum each of those theologies, each of those ideas come up, because while the theology of one of those dreams is that this dream means absolutely nothing, and maybe all the other side of that spectrum is everything within this dream ultimately is filled with meaning. So we have to decide where we're at on that spectrum and where the unity movement is within that spectrum as well. But when we talk about the domestication, I think that the common thread for me that I see among all those descriptions of the dream are that we've bought into the idea that we're separate, that we are an individual just flapping around within this world rather than connected. And I think that that coming together and truly changing that belief that we're connected to each other, we're connected to our communities, we're connected with the divine is so important. And I don't know, that's just key to me, is that the belief in separation and growing out of that.
Right. Yeah, great. Yeah. The biggest illusion is our misperception, our agreement that we're separate when we're not. Yeah. Thank you very much for bringing that. Luana, you're muted.
Okay, sorry, good night. I just want to say that in the room I was, there was only Denise and me, and Denise couldn't open her microphone, so we couldn't do just, she was listening to me saying, can you hear me? And she was, so that was it. Sorry, I couldn't enjoy that section, so.
All right. Well, if you want to connect with me later, I'd be more than happy to listen to your domestication stories for sure.
Oh, no worries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Myra?
Yes, I just want to thank each of the ministers and everyone who showed up for, this has been powerful for me. Number one, I'm sitting here and going, oh my God, it's not just you. Listen to these people, listen to their experiences. Thank you for being so authentic. Now, the other comment that I wanted to share and hope to hear from the panel a little bit more is in reading this, I had, once again, it validated and oh my gosh, made me even more aware of how I, through my own agreements, have internalized so many of the beliefs that have become the judge and leads me to play the victim in this vicious cycle that I get into mentally, and how much courage and awareness. I loved when I think it was Reverend Maggie, I'm not sure which one of you all said it, but said she has to keep that in her sidecar and pay attention.
Right.
Well, I'm mindful of that. I'm mindful, and thank you for that analogy, because with the question you asked, which of the dreams did we find ourselves most recently in? Well, for me, it has been the last couple of years for me. I am in a state of trying to stay fully aware that I've been living a dream and trying to find what Reverend Kathy was talking about tonight, sorting out what is the real truth for me versus the other things that I just signed on. Thank you so much for putting this together.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And our hope is that through working through the next 4 agreements, that we'll get some practice, some tools, some awareness around doing exactly that, seeing where we've been limited, seeing what agreements we've made and where it shows up, making us the victim of our own judgment, and how to break out of that cycle. So thank you for bringing that up also. We're about out of time. I want to honor everybody's time tonight. So before we go, I just remind everybody, anybody that came in late, that to tithe for this class, we want to invite you to go to your home church's website, Facebook page, mobile app if you have it, however that you do it, and to tithe there in your normal way that you tithe for where you are spiritually fed. That this is not a moneymaker for the 4 of churches that came together. It's so that the proceeds and the tithes and the love offerings go back into each individual ministry so that you minister to your own home church and tithe that way. So if you have any questions, check with your own church personnel, your own church leaders on if you want to tithe on the class, how you get it back to your home church if you don't normally do it on an electronic basis, or just mail it in and tell them that you're tithing on the class or whatever. But please tithe to your home churches. Okay. All right. So then let's end this with a prayer like we always do. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to thank each and every one of the instructors for stepping forward to do this, and to remind you that we will be back next week with Reverend Maggie Alderman, who will be doing Be Impeccable with Your Word. Okay. So let's take a deep breath. Mother, Father, God, we are so grateful for this time together. We are grateful for this spiritual community. We are grateful for your divine intelligence, wisdom that flows in and through each and every one of us. We thank you for the authenticity, the bravery, and the spirit of oneness that flows through this community for this hour and a half. We bless each and every person here, affirming and knowing that they are loved, they are blessed, and they are the perfect being that they are supposed to be in this moment. And our knowingness of this truth, we say thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
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 All right. Good night, everybody. Have a wonderful week. I hope to see each and every one of you here
night.
next week.
Good night. Thank you, Dawn.
Next week.
Good night.
Good night.
Love you, mean it. Thank you, everybody.
Hi, Christy.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Hi, Don.
Bye.
How are you?